Yeah, it's funny. I said this today. One of the guys on our board talked about, the SEC. He said, well, it's, look at the rankings. It shows it doesn't matter unless you're in the SEC. And what he was saying is they put in a record 8 teams this week or in the top 25, in the AP 25 from the SEC, which is a record. And, but I did say this, and this is funny. If Alabama catches a loss, there's a good chance that an SEC team will not win the national championship. Not because they don't have the best team, because they have the best teams, I think. But there's a very good chance that Oregon can run the table. There's a very good chance that Ohio State can run the table. There's a very good chance that there's be an ACC team that runs the table. And also,
it'll be interesting to see what Oregon does, because this is their first year without Kelly. And now in the next 2 to 3 weeks is normally when they choke and they blow it. I think if they get back past these next couple weeks, then they should run the table. They should win the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And if they you could potentially have 3, maybe 4 teams undefeated, and they're all going to be sitting there staring at each other. Ohio State should be undefeated.
I think this, George, I think you're right. I think this is going to be the perfect and touching final year for the fucking BCS, because I think this is going to be the year where it fucks it up, because there's going to be undefeated teams.
I'm going to go ahead right here and make my prediction for the national title game. I think it's going to be Ohio State versus Florida State.
Ohio State versus Florida State?
Yep.
You could be right, but you think Oregon is... Now, what happens if there's fucking
Oregon will lose. I think Oregon will choke. I think Oregon will choke and lose a game, and I don't think Florida State or Ohio State will. And with those 2 teams undefeated, and LSU is going to beat Alabama, so that'll knock Alabama down a rung, even though they've lost, their loss is going to be to LSU. I think if you have 2 undefeated teams, you're not going to have a team in there with 1 loss.
I just think... I think the tough game for them, they've got... UCLA's coming in. They're going to be ranked 9th. They've got Washington State, which should be a joke. This is Oregon. They're at Stanford, and I think that's a tough game. And then they've got, what's funny? They've got to play Utah, who just, played this. But I don't see any of these teams beating them. I think their toughest thing, I guess you could say UCLA and Stanford will be tests, but I just don't think either one of those teams after this week, I don't think Stanford can beat them.
If Oregon runs the table and Stanford is still ranked and UCLA is still ranked when they play them and they win the Pac-12 title, then they should be right in there. But I don't see how you're going to sit there and look at an Ohio State team that went undefeated last year. And if they go undefeated back-to-back years, you got to put Ohio State in there.
Yeah, you're going to have to. I'm going to tell you what, and I said this last week, and everybody was probably looking at me cross-eyed. And I'm telling you, a team that fell off the map because they took a loss early and took it on the chin, and they lost. The team they lost to is a team that's undefeated. We were just talking about UCLA. They haven't lost. They're looking good. They're looking like one of the best teams in the Pac-12. Was Nebraska. And Nebraska's silently beating the shit out of everybody, and they've only got 1 loss. They could challenge Ohio State.
I would love to see it, dude.
Yep.
I fucking hate Ohio State.
Yep. And they could challenge them. So, it's only halfway through the football season, so it's interesting how it's all going to play out. But anyway, that is it.